Many wineries owner come to me and they ask me, how can I become, can I turn my winery into iconic wine in 5 years from now? How much would that cost me? And how much time? And even if I ask them how much you have, they always say, I got enough. But it's never going to be enough. Only time can give you this iconic status. And in South Africa, very few wineries can compare to the level that Meerlust has achieved over the last 40 years. You know, almost the same winemakers or the same style of winemaking for all that. I think only 3 winemakers in 40 years.
Yes.
A wine estate relying only on the grape, a family-owned winery with a project. And it was not the first winery that made a Bordeaux blend, but that was the second, I think, the Rubicon. It was 1980, was the first vintage. And since then, they have been on the spearhead of being the Bordeaux blend example of what South Africa can do on a cooler climate of Stellenbosch, close to the sea. Meerlust Rubicon 2017 is as well one of the best years we had with 2015.
So just look at that color. It's completely opaque, just a slight lightening at the rim. So it really does look to be like a Bordeaux blend in its prime. Flashes of black when you twirl it, and oh, lovely red color. On the nose, well, there's just loads and loads of cassis. If you really needed to know what cassis smells like when it's in a wine, this wine is delivering it on the nose.
So for you, it's more Cabernet Sauvignon?
More Cabernet Sauvignon to me, it seems like. Lots of gentle spicing, just as a little accent. And then some plum notes. It's lovely and ripe. You know, it's really beautifully ripe. There's not a little herbaceous or a hedgerow kind of glimmer on this wine. It's just pure black fruit. It's really beautiful. On the nose, all of that black fruit has been integrated with the oak, and it's just so long. It's got one of the most persistent finishes that we've tasted today. There's lovely acidity, and it's that little sneaky lemon twist. I think I've mentioned on the finish.
Like a lemon zest.
Lemon zest. I
like
think
a garnish on the cocktail.
I think I've mentioned it as being a sweet and sour, but it's not. It's actually just a little lemon zest, a little character to the acidity that I find comes from Cab Sauvignon.
What I'm surprised on that wine is the amount of hidden power, because it drinks so easily, because it's so much in balance.
Absolutely.
But you can feel it's like power all along. It's like coating your mouth. It's like the wine is complete. There's no hole. There's no hollow side. There's no dip in the tasting of it. It's consistently good from the first sip to the 10, 15, 20-second lingering character.
And it's got that wonderful density, those layers and layers of fruit. And it doesn't necessarily have to be different fruit. It's just a lovely, soft, sinking, dense middle palate.
What surprised me as well is, I mean, it's 2017. It's a current release from Meerlust. It's already so complex. Like, I mean, they always had the philosophy of a longer barrel aging than many other wine producers. But that means as well that the wine arriving on the market, yes, potential for aging is proven, but it's already good.
It's already so good. And the cab tannins are really well coated with the fruit, so that there's no rough edges, but there's just a fine powdery tannin. I suspect that might be the Merlot, just rounding it out a little bit. But for me, the overall impression of this fruit is not it's not relying on a sweet fruit component to do any of the rounding out for it. It's got plenty of savory fruitfulness. trying to think of a better way to say savoury fruit.
What surprised me as well is, I mean, Stellenbosch is a big zone, and Meerlust on the southern part of it, closer to the sea, on fairly poorer soil.
Yes, and quite flat. There's
And
only
quite
a
flat.
little bit of elevation on parts of the farm.
And I think that gives a lot of nobility to the Cabernet Sauvignon that at the same time find the humidity and the wetness it needs to avoid stress, because you can see the tannins are perfectly ripe. There's no overwhelming astringency, greenness, or pyrazine in that wine. But at the same time, while the tannins are ripe, the fruit is ripe. So they didn't have to harvest too early. They waited until proper maturity. And I think this zone around Meerlust, that's why it's a wine estate. They don't buy grapes
They don't
in.
buy.
They could polish their identity. And I think Rubicon is the best example of this identity, of power, because this is Stellenbosch. This is mostly Cab, or great part is Cab. But at the same time, it is so refined. And I really have to analyze the wine to realize the big power I got on my palate. But I could just drink it without thinking of it, just enjoying it. For 2017, this is remarkable.
It's really
And
beautiful.
no sweetness, no hiding roundness, not touch of makeup in the wine. It's really well done.
Well done, Chris. Well done, Hannes.
Will you keep some bottles for you? Okay, so, I mean, Rubicon is known to age very well. So if you resist the temptation of drinking not everything now, you'll probably be rewarded in a few years, but now it's delicious. Thank you.